morning, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of This Week in Magic Online Finance. My name is Chaz Andres, and as always, let's get started with the news. Now, the big story of this week can't really be anything other than the fact that WotC has decided to move up the next banned and restricted list announcement from November 18th all the way up to October 21st. This is a fairly unprecedented move, and it means that we're going to be able to find out what cards might be banned before the Mythic Championship in Richmond. In Standard, Field of the Dead is almost certainly a goner. In fact, that's pretty much definitely the reason why this ban restricted announcement is being moved up in the first place. The Golos ramp decks are just too oppressive, too overpowering to, lead to a healthy Standard environment. You can't play a lot of different strategies in Standard right now because they can't beat an active Field of the Dead, and that's not really the kind of environment that WotC is looking for, especially when they want to sell all the shiny new toys in Throne of Eldraine. It's also possible that WotC will decide to ban Golos himself and, go Scorched Earth on the entire strategy, but I doubt it. Regardless, Golos isn't going to see much or any play without Field of the Dead in the format, so I would say that both cards are a definite sell in paper and on Magic Online right now. You're not going to be able to play with this combo after October 21st. There's just no way. Even though this announcement is being moved up because of Standard shenanigans, I wouldn't be surprised if something gets the axe in Modern as well. Urza decks have more or less taken over Modern ever since the Faithless Looting and Hogak banning, and, the paradoxical Urza variant may just be a bridge too far. I'm not saying I would definitely sell my pieces of an Urza deck if I was using the deck constantly, but, if you've got a leftover Mishra's Bauble or an Urza kicking around, I'd sell them just in case. It's just, the kind of deck that Wizards of the Coast doesn't really like to have, and I would imagine they might want more diversity in Modern going into the new year. Let's move on now to gaining ground, where in Standard we had a pretty major gainer this week in Oko Thief of Crowns, which jumped 11 fold tickets from 29 up to 40. And despite my initial prediction Throne of Eldraine would not be a top-heavy set, we now have a situation where Oko is worth more than 3 times as much as Brazen Borrower, the second most expensive card in Throne of Eldraine. So how much higher can Oko actually go? Well, the last card to go totally ham on Standard was, of course, Arclight Phoenix, which peaked around the 60 ticket mark. Of course, that's because Arclight Phoenix saw most of its play in Modern, which is by far the most important format on MTGO from a financial perspective, so that makes some sense. Oko sees a little bit of play in Modern, but not nearly as much. A better point of comparison might be Hydroid Krasis, which peaked at 40 tickets last year. Hydroid Krasis pretty much only saw play in Standard, and it's right about where Oko is right now. Oko sees more play in Modern than Hydroid Krasis, so it might end up flirting with the 50 ticket mark, but I'm still a little bit worried about Oko over the midterm future. That's because Golos ramp Field of the Dead decks, they're gonna get banned, and Oko is really good in those decks and in the current metagame that's dominated by those decks. So once things broaden out a bit, it's very likely that Oko's price is going to drop. Let's move over to Modern now, where the card that gained the most ground this week was Force of Negation, gaining an astonishing 22 tickets from 54 all the way up to 76. And that is a new high for the powerful Modern Horizons counterspell, and it sort of is emblematic of an overall warming trend in the Modern marketplace. Other cards like Engineered Explosives and Urza Lord High Artificer and Plague Engineer each gained quite a bit of value this week, with plenty of other Modern staples gaining a couple of tickets each. So, much like with Oko, how high can this one go? Well, I hate to say it, but 100 tickets is well within the realm of possibility here. Yeah, it's not a mythic like Wrenn 6 is, but it's been either number 1 or number 2 on the bestsellers by price list for months and months now, which means that demand is broad and robust. And until they add these Modern Horizons cards into the treasure chest drop table and give them a significant drop rate, the sky's kind of the limit for Modern Horizons cards. Now, I am a little more bearish on this card than I sound like right now for reasons I will discuss at the end of this video, but if you're looking for a ceiling here, it's very high. 100 tickets, definitely possible, and it's very likely that we're going to see this card continue to gain value for the next couple of weeks at least. Let's move on to our biggest losers now, where in Standard it was Arclight Phoenix dropping yet another 3 tickets from 9 all the way down to 6. And for those of you who are keeping track, yes, this is now a 10-fold drop from Arclight Phoenix's peak. that is dramatic. And honestly, that's what happens when you're a top dog in Modern, but your key enabler gets banned and now you don't have a deck anymore. Add that to the fact that Guilds of Ravnica is far outside the set redemption window, and you have the recipe for some pretty serious losses. So does Arclight Phoenix have a floor? Well, not really. It just doesn't see play anywhere right now, and there's no reason for it to be expensive at all because it's well past set redemption. I really like buying cards like this at the bottom of their curve just in case they end up finding home in the future, but I don't think we're even close to the bottom here yet. This could end up at 1 ticket, 2 tickets. I mean, all of that is within the realm of possibility, so 6 tickets seems pretty exorbitant when you look at how low it can go. I definitely think we should all be picking up a couple sets of this card at some point in the future, but we're just not there yet. Let's move over to Modern now, where the biggest loser of the week was Mox Opal, dropping 5 tickets from 48 down to 43. And this one's a bit of a head scratcher to me. Mox Opal actually sees quite a bit of play in Modern right now, including in a lot of the Urza decks, but it's not enough of a key enabler in all of the Urza decks for me to believe that it is definitely going to be the card that gets banned in a couple of weeks. In fact, I'd say Urza is more likely to get banned himself, and that card gained a bunch of value this week, so I don't really know. In paper Magic, Mox Opal has been increasing in price over the past few weeks, but online it's been a slow and steady decline. At some point, I do expect that trend to reverse itself and we'll see Mox Opal start heading the other direction, but I'm not sure when that's going to happen, so I can't really tell you to buy in yet. Definitely keep track of this price chart though, especially if you're in the market for this card, because I do expect it to rebound at some point, barring some bans in Modern. Let's move on now to our sneak of the week, which this week is Throne of Eldraine Buy a Box promo Kenrith the Returned King. Kenrith started out as a 2-ticket rare, it's been slowly climbing since then, it's now just below 11 tickets. And that's mostly because it actually does see significant play in Standard. It's a pretty important mirror breaker in the Golos ramp decks. And it's possible that it's going to continue gaining value over the next couple of days because, you know, it's a really important Standard card and the supply is really low. But don't forget that those decks are probably going to be banned in a couple of weeks, and when they are, Kenrith is going to stop seeing play. So I'm definitely selling this one at current retail. We might not be at the exact peak yet, but we're close enough that I feel comfortable cashing in. Let's end the week by taking a look at the MTGO Trader's sales data over the past 7 days. And as always, this gives us a great sense of which cards are selling the best right now, regardless of price increases or decreases. Looking at overall sales by volume, Once Upon a Time was the standout rare of the week to me by quite a wide margin. In fact, it sold so well that it outsold all but the very, very top of the staple commons and uncommons at the top of this list. Now, price-wise, Once Upon a Time has been really stable so far. It's been pretty stagnant in that 12 to 13 ticket range, but based on this demand, I'm guessing it'll go up in price at some point. There just are a lot of people out there who need playsets of this multi-format staple, and there aren't that many copies to go around. In terms of overall sales by price, I was pretty shocked to see that Oko Thief of Crowns was not only at the top of this list, it was at the top of this list by a really wide margin. And that tells me that there are enough people willing to pay a premium for Oko to justify its price increase up to 40. So even though there are other reasons to perhaps be a little bit skeptical of this 40 ticket price sticking, it's not sales figures. People want this card and they're willing to pay the premium to get him. Now, on the other side of the ledger, Force of Negation was only the 7th best-selling card of the week by this metric after many weeks of being either number 1 or number 2 on this list. And that gives me some pause because this card did see a massive price increase this week, but it's very possible that there just aren't that many people willing to pay more than 70 tickets for Force of Negation right now. So yes, even though there are other reasons why this card might be heading toward the 100 ticket mark, this sales number gives me a lot of pause. Honestly, I'm going to try and stay away now if at all possible. I just don't know what's going to happen. When we look in on this card next week, we might see 20 more tickets worth of gain, or we might see that it gave back all the 20 tickets that it gained this week. I just don't know. And that's all I've got for you this week. Thank you so much for joining me. My name is Chaz Andres, and I will see you again next Monday morning for another episode of This Week in Magic Online Finance.